What's up, everybody? Jurassic World Rebirth had a massive opening weekend at the box office despite the mixed reviews for the movie, so now, unfortunately, we do have to talk about what's in store for the sequel that, without a doubt, is already in motion. I've got 5 things here that I think we should see in the second installment to this new trilogy, some of which I do think we need to see in the next movie, and then there's other stuff too, of course. With that being said, if there is something that I don't include in this video that you think should be in the sequel, drop it down in the comments below, please, but let's dive in. First off, you absolutely have to dive into the story of Duncan KINCAID. They were so happy that they got Mahershala Ali for this role that they actually changed the script so that he would survive. He died in the original version of this movie, but they forgot to change the script to give him an actual story. Now, there is, absolutely implications throughout the movie and a few razor-thin lines of dialogue about his family, but there's a great trauma in this character that remains in the dark. In my opinion, the movie implies that he and his son went on some boating trip of sorts and ran into the 60-foot crocodile that's in either ocean, the Atlantic, and the Pacific for both Parks World and Park. For one, he was genuinely fuming when they rescued that family that the dad had them in that area at all. And I mean, worst dad of the year award, he was aware of the mosasaur and he's like, oh, we're just passing through. No shit, you get attacked. But then at the end, when they're trying to make you care about that family and Kincaid, the character, he protects the daughter from the D-Rex, but his story before that was just so hollow that it's hard to care. Also, going back a bit in the movie from the end of it, he grabs that photo of his son from his boat when they get to the island at first, and then he says something along the lines of, we finally made it. And I mean, maybe they were even trying to get to this specific island, but it definitely feels like they were doing a boating expedition of some sorts, and that's where he lost his son, which in turn ruined his marriage, but the point is that they need to fill in the blanks on his character. Next up, I think it's a given that Dolores, the baby aqualobe that the younger daughter from the family finds and keeps, will quickly get sick once she's back on the mainland and living amongst the humans as this girl's pet. We saw it with the big neck. I forget, I'm blinking on the name of that dinosaur right now, but we see that in the beginning of the movie when traffic's all backed up and Rupert Friend gets out of the character, but also the movie simply sets this universe up now so that the dinosaurs can't survive on most of the planet. But if this was included as a storyline in the sequel, I do actually think they could make you care about this family for a change, which, in my opinion, they completely failed to do in Rebirth, but they do that by dealing with giving up this newfound pet and all that comes with that, something almost everybody can relate to. The separation anxiety, the anger towards your parents or whoever made you give it up, and just the unwavering emptiness that comes with losing a pet. Then with that out of the way, I do think Jonathan Bailey will return to reprise his role as Dr. Henry Loomis, and I think his museum that we find him in during the first act of the movie will be booming once again. But the spin on that is, so we don't have to deal with, opening another theme park full of dinosaurs, business is booming because of the doctor's fame and not the public's revitalized interest in the reborn creatures. I think, and I'm jumping to the final movie of this trilogy because you know it's going to happen, you know they're going to make a full-on trilogy, they were always gonna, but especially after the success of this first one on the opening weekend, the third movie is gonna end the franchise with 9 movies hopefully, and then they'll end it on the human realization that we simply can't coexist with these creatures. Anyway, getting to the villain of the next movie, the big bad Dino Corporations, I do think that we're going to see Rupert Friend's characters, bosses or superiors, funders, whatever you want to call them. I mean, he does say that it's his company, but he really felt like more of a figurehead than the boss, so who knows who shows up, but regardless of that, I expect to see Parker Genix, which was his company, go after our trio that survived the expedition, considering, they gave away their research. Maybe they go after them in court, and that's how the movie opens up and then spins us into our next adventure with the crew, or maybe it just forces Parker Genix to step up their game in the medical industry. They could go after the cure for, cancer via dinosaurs. Hell, they could extend life via dinosaurs, and then again, jumping to the third movie, find a cure for dinosaurs and or the Earth itself as it becomes less and less habitable for the creatures. Finally, you just know this franchise is gonna inevitably loop back to the Velociraptors. It's almost 100% guarantee, in my opinion, and I'm not complaining about it either. I fucking love raptors. The entirety of that First World trilogy is all about them. They're the stars of that final fight in the original Jurassic Park, and they just had a two-headed flying raptor in this movie. Which, that was a failed experiment, to be fair, and I also just wasn't the biggest fan of the Mutodons, but they still made the flying one-headed raptors, and we saw them hunting an actual raptor too during the only funny scene in Rebirth, that scene where the boyfriend is pissing. But the point is, with as much love as this franchise has for the speedy hunters, they'll end up being the answer to the million-dollar question, whatever that ends up being. And so that's going to do it for today's video. As I said, if I missed anything you think should be in the sequel, or if anything I said shouldn't be in your opinion, drop it down in the comments below and make sure you have a great day.